about the regime or the government there, and giving our customers their point of view. Why do people support Kim Jong-un? Why do people believe in the North Korean government when it's apparently so poor, and it really is a communist totalitarian state? How is that possible? That's something that I want people to understand by taking people there, and that's quite controversial. I think, and I'll say a controversial thing here, if Hitler was rising to power in the 1930s, I would have taken people to Germany to try and understand what was going on, because I think it's really, really important.
How much work is involved in putting a tour to North Korea?
North Korea is a tricky one. We have a choice of about 800 places that we can visit where foreigners are allowed to go, and then we select those places. What's critical about that tour is we've got a guy called Professor Rudiger Frank, who's Professor of Southeast Asian Economy at the University of Vienna. He's been going to the DPRK since the late 1980s, and he knows the place inside out, speaks the language brilliantly, and that's the critical thing. If you go to North Korea, you have official guides who give you an official spiel, and I think that's important to understand, to get their viewpoint. But quietly, we have Professor Frank, who tells you really the inside story. That's the crucial thing. In a way, it's easier than other countries because here's the itinerary, and they're going to stick to that itinerary, and you have that's it. There's less uncertainty about it than going many other places because you don't have the freedom to wander off and go and do different things.
We actually run 2 tours to North Korea because we have quite a lot of interest in it, and a lot of the people that have been on the initial tour seeing the capital have then subsequently gone on our second tour, which explores the remote northeast area.
So people come back and they want to know more about it.
Is it true about photographing the leader? You have to get the whole body in?
You've got to get the whole body in. There's a thing I've got... here I've brought some magazines, John, that you might be interested to see. These are these are the English versions of their state magazine, and you can't put these magazines. Here's a photograph of Kim Jong-il, and you can't put this face down. You certainly could not put this in a bin in a hotel room in North Korea. You get into trouble. So. They do have it's I say it's like imagine that you're in the Middle Ages. It's like both believing in a god that you can't question and obeying your feudal lord who you can't question either, and those two things are combined within the Kim regime, and your life depends upon it. Your ability to get on with in life depends upon it.
Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. For the tours you've done so far, and you said already that they can be fluid, but what's the most surprising thing that's ever happened to you on one of your tours?
We had. I know one chap. I know him very well. He actually lives next door to my father, and we were in a. It's perhaps not the answer you're looking for. We were sitting in a restaurant, and we have talks and conversations, and he couldn't hear very well, and he shouted at the restaurant, "Can you turn that racket down, please?" And it was the call to prayer. Generally, things run according to plan. They're well planned, and we haven't had any big issues. Sometimes I find myself trying to. Well, my wife or the guide might have to restrain me. I find some of the tours quite tough. We see West Bank settlers.
Well, yes, we got thrown out.
Yeah, we managed to get thrown out of one house. This guy was from Brooklyn and was telling us why, Israel had a right to be there and why he had a right to be there, and he was very vociferous about it. And
he kept saying we could ask whatever we wanted to.
But he didn't want us to ask what he wanted to.
So we asked whatever we wanted to, and then he would tell us that, basically say, ask whatever you want to, but never tell us the answer.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, doesn't it?
It was quite funny. We had an Australian on that tour that was very quick-witted, and when the guy eventually said, well, you're clearly not asking the right sort of questions and perhaps you should leave, he said, you're the second group I've had to ask to leave.
Yeah,
And
the second group I had to kick out.
Yeah, and this Australian sort of piped up. So you've had 2 groups then, which was quite good.
Do you still have availability for 2017, and how do we find out more about the tours?
Go online, give us a call. So politicaltours.com is the website. We have availability on the French elections. The Baltics is filling up very, very quickly. We've got some availability on Russia. So we've got a few spaces on Iran just now. That's in April. We've still got space on the French elections and on Russia, which is in June. The Baltics is almost full. That's in July. And then we've got space at the end of the year. So we have Israel and Palestine, North Korea, Colombia and South Africa. Colombia's filling up too, actually.
I don't think we could sort of take a family of 5 on them, but definitely got a couple of spots on each.
Yeah.
And in fact, the tours have done very well because most of them already passed their minimum number.
Mm.
Is the website the same address if you want to have a bespoke tour put together for you?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a telephone number. It's 0843 289 2349, and that's you'll get through to one of us, and we can just run. So if people send us an email and say, I want to go here, I've taken my family to this particular place, can you do 3 days or 4 days or 2 days? We'll look into it.
Yeah, the best email is info@politicaltours.com.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you, John.
If you missed the details, don't worry. You can find the web address and telephone number at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Just look for the post for the 16th of February show. You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Meeting Nicholas and Karen was a joy. It's great to speak to people who own the travel company because they're really passionate about what they do and they want to make sure that it's perfect. It's not always like that when you speak to people in the travel industry. You may have seen actors promoting films on TVAM or whatever, and they sit there in the room, they're answering questions. Well, that sort of thing happens for every industry. It's just that you're probably not interested in most of these events that happen. And I was interviewing somebody about a travel company a couple of days before I went to see Political Tours. And you get given the press release and you put your questions together and then you ring up and you interview the person. They had some personality who I believe is quite famous, but I've never heard of them. I had to Google who they were and I still had no idea. And so I stuck the first question in, which is based on the first line of the press release, and they couldn't answer it. And this personality was being paid I don't know how much money to publicise a particular company and couldn't answer the basic questions, which, I mean, to be honest, it was my fault. I should have handled it better. I should have been able to work around it. But I was so thrown by the fact she couldn't talk about the company she was there to represent. I completely lost track and I had to really struggle and dig deep to get any sort of sense out of this particular person. But to say, when you speak to Political Tours and companies like that, they know what they're talking about. They're so passionate about what they do. And it's good to travel with companies like that as well as to speak to people too. If you've been on a political tour or you've been on a tour which is a very small group, less than 15 people, and you had a great time, please do share your experiences at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show and tell us what you did and how you enjoyed it. I've gone on and on about the tour I did with, a holiday I did with an animal sanctuary in Namibia. And sometimes just getting away from what you're doing and learning stuff is far better than just sitting in front of the sun roasting for 2 weeks. You've probably come across TripAdvisor, but there is a website for cruises as well, and it's called Cruise Critic. And this website has named the winners of the 2017 Cruise Critic UK Cruisers' Choice Awards. The awards name the best cruise ships of the year based entirely on UK reviews posted to their website. In the large ship category, Celebrity Cruises was the top-rated cruise line across the most categories, winning 6 awards. The line's newest and largest ship, the Celebrity Reflection, won Best Overall, Best Cabins and Best Value. Celebrity Silhouette received Best Service and Best Public Rooms, while Celebrity Infinity, which offers sailings to destinations such as the Panama Canal, Africa and Colombia, was commended in the Best Shore Excursions category. Oceania Cruises Riviera scored highly in the mid-size category, with the line maintaining all of its 6 first-place rankings from last year, which includes Best Overall, Best Dining and Best Service. Thomson Cruises Thomson Spirit also took 3 mid-size awards for the Best Entertainment, Best Shore Excursions and Best Value. In the small ship category, Viking Ocean Cruises has continued to impress UK cruisers, riding the waves with 8 awards. The line's first ship, Viking Star, which was launched in 2015, followed by the Viking Sea in 2016, and the Star took awards for Best Overall, Best Embarkation and Best Public Rooms, Best Service and Best Value, while the Viking Sea won Best Cabins, Best Entertainment and Best Fitness and Recreation. Best Fitness, let's leave it at that. Royal Caribbean's 2016 launch, which is Harmony of the Seas, which is famed for its 10-storey dry slide, and currently the largest ship in the world, was voted best for families, and the Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas took best for first-timers. For the full list of winners, because I don't want to sit here and read out a list, it's not going to be very entertaining for you, you can find it at, get a pen, this is a long list, a long web address. It's cruisecritic.co.uk/member reviews /cruiserschoice_index.cfm. And as always, you better find the link at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. I've already talked about my feelings of the cruises and being on a cruise. What about yours? Do you agree with the awards I've just listed? Or do you think that the ship you went on was far better? Please do share your cruising experiences and tips at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. We've reached the end of this week's show. If you've travelled with political tours, please do share your photos and your experiences at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. I'm looking very keenly over the list themselves because I've got a big birthday coming up this year. Maybe I'll treat myself to a political tour. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm looking for people with experience of living near a large airport. I'm looking into the fumes that come out of jet engines and whether they're safe or not. If you know any expert on the subject, please do give me their details and I'll have a chat with them to see whether there is something to be concerned about or not. Also, regular guest UK European Consumer Centre would like to come on again to talk about consumer issues. If you've got any questions about any consumer problems, doesn't have to be travel, let me know and I'll get them on to answer the questions. So if you bought a dodgy TV, maybe a poor pizza, or perhaps a dodgy holiday, then I'll get them on and we will talk through how you can solve your problem. And I do hope you can join me next time on the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com, where each week I check out before you check in.